The 2024 Mustang GT has less torque than the S550, and that's a bad thing. Let's discuss my scientific analysis here.
Follow the science.
First, let me give you my list of demands. If you like Mustang's motorcycles and you're not afraid to say words like man or woman, and you like comedy, then join the movement. I made exactly $100 on YouTube this month for over 60 hours of work. That's about $1.67 per hour.
So please help your channel grow by liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, shopping on my Amazon storefront, link below.
You guys rock. Let's do work. Okay, let's state this up front. I want to publicly acknowledge right now that Ford is bucking the liberal forces that are strangling ICE engine makers, and as always, I want to thank Ford for being awesome enough to make a full ICE Mustang to increase the horsepower and to give us a manual transmission to boot. Good job. I love you, Ford, and that's why I want to give you some tough love sometimes. This is one of those times. Just remember, I still love you. It's just a little spanking action. You freaking pervs. Anyway, okay, quick caveat. The 2022 Mustang GT lost horsepower because of stinky non-showering liberals. You know, because showers are bad for the environment. I'm just kidding. Anyway, the 2022 Mustang GT lost power, so I'm going to make my comparisons to my 2018 Mustang GT, which was 460 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. That's the true benchmark, especially because in those almost 5,000 miles I enjoyed it before it blew up, I experienced all of its performance. The 2024 GT deserves a golf clap because it is 480 horsepower stock or a 20 horsepower gain over my 2018. And we'll talk about their additional performance exhaust later. To go with that decent amount of horsepower, the 2024 has 415 pound-feet of torque.
Hold up, wait a minute. Something ain't right.
You heard that right, it has 5 less torque than my 7-year-older model. And I'm not being hard on Ford. Stop it! Freaking perverts. Look, can I just make a professional presentation without you guys getting dirty all the time? Grow up. Anyway, even if they held the torque to 420, I'd still be disappointed that a model 7 years later has no improvement in what is arguably the most important performance number, torque. Now, to be fair, with performance exhaust and tune, horsepower does jump to 486, excellent, and torque to 418, still under what it was 7 years ago without a more expensive performance exhaust. But wait, let's revisit that claimed horsepower number before we go further. It's a 20 gain stock or a 26 gain if you shell out more blood, sweat, and tears for an upgraded exhaust and tune. But some of that gain may not actually be a gain. Ford has historically underreported their horsepower, where some people were actually dynoing their 2018 GTs at approaching or even hitting near 500 horsepower. This underreported performance gives Ford the option of artificially inflating performance. Ford simply had to stop overstating its horsepower for the S650 to pretend to show a gain or enhance their actual gain. For example, if they actually gained 10 horsepower but were more accurate with their rating, they are able to show an officially claimed 20 horsepower gain yet only really gained 10 horsepower. And it can't be refuted because those were official claimed numbers. A sleight of hand for sure, but effective marketing. That could go the other way too, where they continue to understate their horsepower and they have even more than 480 horsepower, but the drop in torque doesn't support that theory. The drop in torque supports the former theory that they just produced a more accurate horsepower rating this time to boost their numbers. Is there anything wrong with that? Well, that's a gray area. Has anyone ventured a thought this might actually be a money grab? You know, from a corporation whose one goal is to make more money while cutting costs, thereby making more money? Could this be intentional? Could they have intentionally dropped the 2022 GT power in a diabolical marketing scheme to make off with even more of our hard-earned gold? To show a bigger jump, an artificial jump if you will, versus the lower power 2023, and on top of that, grab more money to include a performance tune and exhaust that came with the previous model stock in the first place, which had more torque already. Oh, the rabbit hole goes deep. And did you know rabbits, although cute, can be extremely vicious? Terrifying. So we at least gained horsepower on paper, but we lost torque in the process. This may be a result of a tune, and please share with me your technical knowledge below. I do remember a commenter saying something about lowering torque in a trade-off to increase horsepower, but I'd like to further discuss the science behind it. Okay, let's talk torque. Torque is arguably the most important number because it's what you feel in your butt dyno, so to speak. Now keep in mind I'm talking about feel here, not science. You also feel horsepower, but to a lesser extent. You feel feel the torque throw you back in your seat, and you feel the horsepower take you to higher speeds in a linear fashion. Do you think that's accurate? Would you agree? Let me know below. But having owned many sports cars and motorcycles, torque throws you back in your seat more than horsepower does. That's why it's called torque. Normally, I wouldn't mind as much a 10-point reduction in torque, but what makes it hit harder is the fact that the S550 already needed more torque. I'm a multiple Mustang owner of a 2018 GT and GT350, and I can say while I loved both cars, it's not a crime to say they needed more torque, because they did. I remember launching both cars with people in the passenger seat, and most people were unimpressed. I got smiles and giggles for sure, especially with the banshee scream of the GT350 and some shifting strategy. Spinning. But I got the feeling those people who had never been in a Mustang before expected to be thrown back in their seats a lot more. Case in point, in fact, when I took my day job clients in the Mustang and gave it my all, they both said my 2017 STI threw them back in their seats a lot more. My STI was modded to 300 horsepower at the wheels and a little bit lighter, and I definitely shifted it aggressively, but I was sad to hear my 526 horsepower Shelby was tamer than my 4-banger Subaru. Both the Mustang and the GT350 needed more torque, so it's disappointing to see the torque not only not go up, but go down substantially. Now, before you say 10 horsepower or 10 torque doesn't matter, before you say it's not feelable, okay, then let's just keep lowering by 10 each year until we have 0 horsepower and torque and you have to push the car Flintstone style. No, if I wanted to drive a less powerful car, I'd get a Prius. But I digress. The cars needed more torque. Now, I will say putting E85 in my GT350 with Lund Race Tune and even the Flex Tune did fully make the car what I thought it should have been from the factory.
Oh! Ow! First, second, third, much more power. I'm almost in Tijuana. Tijuana. I love me some Tijuana! Eso Mexico! E85 makes me happy. Beat the record! Yeah, baby! Yeah. Woo!
However, although E85 is normally safe, you don't want to risk having to replace a $30,000 engine because something else gave out and they blame it on the E85, which would be fair, so ultimately I reflashed back to stock. There is still a glimmer of hope for the torque. There is one more lever we can pull for the 2024 GT for more torque. So far, I haven't seen any official weight numbers. My 2018 Mustang was a hot 3,900 pounds, so if they shaved off even 50 to 100 pounds or more, that may offset or even exceed the reduction in torque, at which point I will eat my words.
And then I start to smell them, so it's like a smell that tastes like other.
But if we think logically, if there was something to brag about like a weight reduction, I'm sure that would have been included in the talking points at the car reveal, because that would have even made a bigger impact and generated even more buzz, which is great marketing. So I don't think the car is going to be lighter. If anything, the car may even be heavier, adding more parts such as dual intakes, separate throttle bodies, updated camshafts, new exhaust manifold, and possibly more. But this is just speculation at this point. As I said, they haven't released weight numbers. Now, is a 10 torque reduction the end of the world? No. Is it worth talking about for us Mustang fans? Yes. Am I sure the 2024 Mustang GT is going to be a great car? Absolutely. And on that note, if you made it this far into the video, please drop the code word "keep the dream alive" in the comments below for a mention in my next video. Alright guys, if you made it this far into the video, thank you, I appreciate you. Until next time, always be kinder than necessary, and I'll see you in the next one.